possible that Call of Duty World War II may revitalize some of the social features within Call of Duty via the headquarters. A lot of people have a bunch of different ideas for what may end up happening in that, or maybe even surrounding that new social aspect of Call of Duty. One thing in particular that I've been seeing popping up here and there on places like Twitter, Reddit, YouTube comments, things like that, are people expressing their interest in a weapon marketplace. And while I do think this is cool, I do think there's some things to discuss that really need to be addressed before this could ever really happen in Call of Duty. I would personally love to see this, but there are a few obstacles that need to get out of the way firsthand. So in this video, we're gonna be talking about the idea of a marketplace, a buy, sell, trade of either weapons, customization items, things like that, due to the increase in social aspects for Call of Duty World War II, what obstacles it currently faces, and how it could work, essentially, if these obstacles are overcome. Now, first things first, a disclaimer. We've never seen anything like this in Call of Duty. We have had certain in-game currency items going towards things such as the wager matches in Black Ops, but that's the extent of it. You couldn't actually get a tangible item in-game for it, and as a result, it's not necessarily the same thing. So this sort of buy-sell trade marketplace would be brand new to Call of Duty. It's in a ton of other different games currently. Places like CSGO come to mind here with that, and the Steam buy, sell, trade, and then third-party markets obviously help contribute to that as well, but with Call of Duty being a standalone thing, it would be brand new and something that would have to be internally managed, which may very well never happen. So this is just theory and speculation that addresses a topic and an idea as a whole, but very well may not actually happen. So bear that in mind and just take this discussion of it overall and in general for what it is, just a discussion at the moment. But first things first, the big obstacles with Call of Duty, and probably the biggest one, is the fact that Call of Duty has annual releases. Sure, this gives fans and players a steady stream of content on an annual basis, and with DLC, both micro and larger scales in terms of map packs, it gives players a lot to digest during that year, but also it makes those sort of things that were to have a lasting impression almost worthless in a sense. Things, if you take a look at comparable games like CSGO and everything like that have major in-game markets, which the interest now might not be as high as it was at its peak heights, but still, the marketplace overall has value because it lasts. Counter-Strike series and their games last for quite some time. Global Offensive, the current Counter-Strike game, was released in 2012, and before that, it was Counter-Strike Source, which goes all the way back to 2004 in the beta. So as you can see, the years for the lifespan of these games lasts a lot longer. Therefore, these weapons don't really lose value as much over time as compared to an annual release. If you take that lifespan and condense it into a year, that's what you have with Call of Duty, and that's also why there is no value to these in-game weapons. So theoretically, if you were to be able to buy, sell, and trade items, sure, you'd have some value initially maybe, and that's just very vague and ambiguous. There's no guarantee on that. But theoretically, let's say you had some sort of value to maybe an AK-74U in Black Ops 3 that was released. Well, whenever it comes time for that next November, unless that game just does not hold the adequate population of players, that game previously would be left in the dust, and any purchases made would essentially be lost in almost all value. Of course, with DLC being released as we see it now within Call of Duty games, where it's staggered by a couple of months at a time, where there's that time frame of maybe a month and a half to 2 month intervals between DLC drops, some of these weapons wouldn't even ever have the chance of having any value, because say if weapons dropped right now, are you really gonna spend a certain amount of money, whether it be in-game currency or actual COD points and real money, to end up playing with this weapon for a couple of months' time? So theoretically, that is the biggest hurdle a marketplace would face in terms of Call of Duty. Now, where this could end up going and get interesting then is the fact that we could have a sort of liquidation system where every single year you could have all your DLC that you ended up buying or selling or trading with friends, random people on an in-game marketplace or anything like that. Wherever you end up owning, if you could end up, say, burning those weapons, those items that you ended up buying, and then getting a certain amount of COD points or in-game currency for that then transfers to your account to roll over into the next game, then that potentially could be something that keeps that value, or I guess not necessarily value in a sense, but at least make sure that you don't lose your investments into the game. If this sort of thing weren't put into place, then, well, it would make a marketplace almost once again pointless, because you'd end up spending X amount of in-game currency or real currency, depending on which you favor, and then end up losing it if you don't end up going back and playing that game after that main life cycle is finished. So personally, I think that this is the biggest hurdle, and then maybe the only explanation on how you could end up fixing that if a marketplace were to theoretically come. But of course, that is all variable, and of course, really just depends on if Call of Duty were to ever put anything like a marketplace in. Right now, I don't necessarily think that it will happen, but it is something that, with all the discussion and all the forward thinking of the new social aspects within Call of Duty World War II, the headquarters and everything that Sledgehammer is trying to push, I think this might be a decent time to discuss this idea, because it might not happen in World War II, but maybe it ends up being in Treyarch's game, in Infinity Ward's next game. Whatever it may be, it is still possible for the future. Even if it's not coming to this game, if enough people were to hop on board, it could theoretically happen. So I guess we'll see in time if it does come to pass. Personally, I don't think that we'll be getting it in World War II, but of course, the ideology and discussion of it is still completely relevant and is a great thing to discuss, I think, as maybe an area of hope for the future in Call of Duty. Because who wouldn't love to get instant access to a weapon that they'd love to get, but don't want to spend X amount of money to test their luck on supply drops and the random RNG that it's safely hidden behind. So that said, that's gonna wrap it up. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I'd love to hear your thoughts down there in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of this idea of a marketplace? And do you guys agree with my thoughts and mentality on it here, where it needs to overcome some sort of obstacles and have something in place that makes the items worthwhile? Feel free to agree, disagree, whatever it is, feel free to drop it down there in the comment section down below. But hopefully you guys enjoyed, and if you guys did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you guys are new to the channel as well, make sure you guys subscribe to stay up to date with everything we have here regarding Black Ops 3, both multiplayer and Zombies with Zombies Chronicles, Call of Duty World War II with multiplayer and zombies there as well, Modern Warfare Mastered, Infinite Warfare, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel. And finally, if you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, that is the best place to get connected with me outside of YouTube. Practically live on Twitter, so if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, link is down there in the description below. But all that said, and out of the way, hope you guys have a fantastic day. Mine has been Espresso. Thanks for watching. Take care and peace.